You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of not just the Locked On Padres podcast, but also the Locked On Rays podcast. The person currently speaking is only one of your hosts, obviously, Javier Reyes, sometimes, occasionally, but certainly not always the host with the most. You can find me on Twitter at Javipeno, Javiipeno, where I cover the Padres, occasionally tweet about dumb movies and crap posts very often. My buddy here is very familiar with that. And of course, we're going to be talking about trades, specifically with the Padres and Rays, obviously. Tyler Glasnow, Juan Soto, all sorts of fun stuff. But of course, I must introduce my co-host, Ulises Sambrano. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's always a pleasure to talk ball with you. I think people would really, enjoy the conversation before we hit record as well. But that's just for the two of us, at least for now. No, it's great. It's great to be here with you, man. I think we are about to just go nuts here, and we might get a lot of hate on each other's comments boxes on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
because what we're going to be proposing here is going to be off the wall, that people are just going to be seething and just looking to just get at us. Yeah,
absolutely. That's what we live for, you and I. I mean, do I post some bait tweets every now and then? Yeah, I did it last year when I posted about Tatis mock trade. I 100% knew what I was doing, and everyone fell right for it. It was great. It got called names. And then sometimes when you don't mean it, right? Or I posted about Blake Snell yesterday saying he gone because he was wearing a Seattle Seahawks thing. It was mostly a joke. I do think he's going to leave, but it was mostly a joke. People were like, this guy has the worst podcast, and this is just one reason why. And I'm like, amen, brother. But aside from talking about the weirdness of what we do with these podcasts and that app and everything as a whole, I think the first thing that we got to do when we talk about this is, first of all, just the state of the Rays. Because the Rays have been kind of doing their thing for a while. And it feels like the Rays, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when they had the best start to a season in 2023 for a long time. So that's obviously a joke. They were on fire. You had Yandy Diaz. You still have so many great players on this team. And they are really good at always being competitive when no one talks about them, which is why I think don't watch out for them next year, even with the potential trades we might pose. But I'm wondering, what is kind of the current fan base mindset? Because from outside, feels like it went from the highest of highs to literally, and for off the field reasons as well, the lowest of lows.
Yeah, that's it was a roller coaster. 2023 was a roller coaster. I'm not a fan of roller coasters, so for me, just to have that in my baseball fandom, I was not enjoying that at all. You come from a very good high of just basically losing a handful of games in like the first 35 games. It was really amazing. And you actually got to learn about baseball history when, there's the New York Gothams. So I didn't know that was even a team. But when you break records, then you start going like, oh, the New York Gothams were a thing. Like that's cool. Didn't know that about baseball. And then, like you said, not only the off-field issues with the young all-star shortstop Wander Franco, but it's also, you're going to lose Jeffrey Springs after his third start, and he was looking like a Cy Young really kind of candidate. Then Drew Rasmussen, same thing, boom, you lose him for the whole year. And also those two guys for next year as well, at least the first half of the season. And then Shane McClanahan, the all-star, the guy, boom, you lose them to TJ. And so you, for the rest of this season, August, September plus 2024. So then it just became like a low light, everything. In July, they had a worst month in franchise history. They didn't even win 10 games. So it was a roller coaster. I think the fandom right now, most of it is appreciative that this team, with the market, with the dollars that they're working with, and the attention, or the lack of attention rather, that they get, they're always on the hunt. They're always in the playoffs. Like, that is commendable, and the fandom appreciates that. But that's a double-edged sword when you have that much success. The fandom has gotten used to getting to the playoffs. 2019 to 2023, that's 5 straight years of playoff appearances, and it kind of showed up a little bit in the attendance because a lot of fans were thinking, oh, they'll win the wild card game, I'll buy tickets for the ALDS. Like, I'm not getting off work at 3 p.m., 2 p.m. I'm not doing that. They're going to win, and then we can just see them in the ALDS. Wrong move, because apparently the Rays forget to hit in October lately in the last 2 series. So, it's been a roller coaster. I think now the success that they've had has kind of pushed the fandom to say playoffs are great, but we need more now. We need more. We need more than a wild card series. We need more than an ALDS. Like, it feels like the most of the fandom is like, get to the ALCS. Like, even if you lose, like, get to the ALCS. I feel like most of the fandom is right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that while the Rays definitely belong in my soapbox category of teams where I bring up the lack of spending and what have you, one thing about the Rays is they ain't no Brewers, and they're not no Rays, and not Rays, A's. And what I mean by that is the Brewers choke like dogs. The Rays, they blew it, quote unquote, this year, but with all the reasons you mentioned, this wasn't the usual reason I bring up for why you should spend. I usually bring it up when it's like, oh yeah, shocker. The Brewers that never spend and never get the pieces over the top get blown out by the Diamondbacks, right? While other teams like the Rangers end up winning the World Series. But the Rays this year, I think it was different. And the Rays have also been much farther many times than some of those other teams. So the Rays do deserve a lot of respect. And I don't think I'd put them quite in the same vein as your Guardians and Brewers and whatnot. But even still, really weird position, I think, to be in if you're a Rays fan, for sure. Thankfully, you're not, moving or anything like that at the moment.
My God, like that, we had a Thanksgiving episode, Kevin and I, last week, and my thankful thing was the fact that we know about the stadium situation being basically 99% over. Like, the team is staying in Tampa Bay. Yeah, it sucks it's in the St. Pete's side. Like, that's a bummer, but big picture, team stays here.
Yeah.
Team is here, and that's awesome.
Other teams from Oakland, not so lucky, for sure. But yeah, man, I think that with the Rays, I would always caution people whenever they're being counted out is right when they strike. Coming off the 100-win season, remember that. And I'm talking about not the Rays, but the Yankees. Coming off their 100-win season, re-signing Aaron Judge. You've got the who else in the damn division?
Rodon.
Rodon and that stuff. You still have the Orioles. Obviously, they were great this year, but and then what happens? The Rays, they start off 13-0 to the season. They have the best start. They're first in everything. And there's still a lot to be excited about. The Yandy Diaz thing, and I've talked about on my show. I love the Yahoo Sports article that they wrote about how he felt more comfortable making changes to his swing after he got paid, which I think is a fascinating thing to dive into. But that's not what we're going to be diving into, my friend. We're going to be diving into some trades because both of our teams have some big, mighty talent on the trade block, my friend.
Yes.
And we got to talk about it because both of these players, this isn't just some, look, it's, Brian Reynolds has become one of my most hated players because I think he was discussed way too much for what he brought to the table. Good player. Every team could use it, but let's relax a little bit. He's got like a 110 WRC plus this past year. So he's a solid player, but like they want a Soto package. It's like, well, we're actually going to be talking about packages here. And I think that this is a genuinely interesting thing, especially because of our team's recent history. But before we talk about that, my friend, we must discuss the legends, the absolute icons over at FanDuel, America's greatest, most legendary sports book. And here's the thing. Maybe were you betting on Baker Mayfield, you Tampa Bay fans? Well, I don't necessarily recommend that.
Not in the last 6 games. It hasn't been fun. No,
not necessarily there, but interesting stuff nonetheless. I can't really bring up my favorite football team with this podcast if I still want to live by the end of the night. But actually I could, because they probably will be happy that I'm miserable. I hate everything football. But if you don't, and you might have what it takes to pick the right teams, guess what? FanDuel right now, new customers get 150 buckaroos in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. All you have to do is pick the team. I don't know. You want to bet on the 49ers again? That usually works out. You want to bet on the Eagles? Apparently they can't lose. No problem. Or you want to pick a sneaky team like, I don't know here, maybe the Colts over the Titans or something like that. Whatever. That's just from what I'm looking at. Or Falcons Jets is hilarious. Anyway, not going to get too football nerdy on this podcast. And it's not just picking teams. You've got spreads. You've got over-unders. You've got player props. You want to bet on how many drop passes from Kansas City Chiefs receivers. I bet you they've got something like that. Over under yardage, over under touchdowns, interceptions, pick sixes, whatever. They've got you covered. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off your NFL season betting extravaganza. Remember, that is FanDuel.com/lockedon, the official partner of the NFL. And folks, do not forget, I mean, I don't think I've mentioned this on my podcast, but Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on the old tube of the U. Locked On Sports Day is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, including occasionally, perhaps, maybe me and Ulises will make an appearance. We're not in baseball season just yet, but hey, we'll see. Plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Go check that out. Ulises, here's the thing. We're back, first of all, everybody.
Okay.
We're back into it. Let's get into it.
All right.
Trade time. But before we get into it, I'm still teasing people just a little bit more. The reason why I reached out is because aside from the players, with Juan Soto and Tyler Glasnow being at the center of this, we've made a lot of trades these past few years, especially since I've been hosting this podcast.
Yeah.
And most of them, I think the two out of the three have basically gone the Padres way for the most part. Although it's not the Rays' fault the way how do I phrase this? Give me 1 second. It's the Padres' fault that the Cronenworth thing hasn't done better because of the extension, et cetera, et cetera. But Emilio Pagan, that trade with Manny Margot, our former legend, has done pretty good stuff for the Rays. I know that. So that one was a win for them. Emilio Pagan, I don't even think is currently pitching for a major league team. Then you have the Tommy Pham and give me 1 second, Xavier Edwards, correct, I believe is who it was, in exchange for Jake Cronenworth and Tommy Pham. And Pham was the centerpiece of the trade. You might have won that one. And then he, of course, does better once he left. Was in the World Series this past year. Yeah. But Jake Cronenworth was I don't remember the last time the Rays missed on a prospect per se. Cronenworth ends up becoming an all-star caliber player, had a down year because they put him at first base. We don't have to get into that thing. And then, of course, the most infamous one now for Rays fans everywhere is the Blake Snell trade, in which the Padres gave up. The centerpiece was Luis Patino, who is not even on the Rays anymore. And while it looked a little bit like, the Rays won yet again, Snell won himself a Cy Young. So, that's just how trades go sometimes. But maybe the Padres, Preller, has he figured out are they the only team that could get the best of you?
Well, you know what? You look at that Snell trade, and hindsight, it's like there must have been something else. Like the taking him out in game 6, did that affect at all that decision-making process? Was it, maybe it's not, maybe this is us just like speculating, and everything was completely cool right after the game with Cash and Snell in the front office and how he was handled. But maybe there's something else there. I think in the age of baseball savant and Fangraphs and all these things, which are awesome, they're fantastic tools, I think sometimes we get a little bit too much into them and we forget that these guys are human beings, and human beings have feelings, and feelings are not logical, and emotions are not rational. So, it can be tough, and it's also a job. So when you go into a clubhouse, like, that chemistry matters. Like, and if you don't think it matters, then I just believe that you've never been in an office setting at a job. Like, everybody has a job, usually, and when they go to a job, they like their coworkers, and they like who they're who they're working with, their teammates, and that's just normal. And so, like, was there something else that led to that decision making? Because you look at the trade, and it was awesome. The prospect package, right? I mean, you not only get Luis Patino, that's got the stuff. You got Francisco Mejia. Can he develop into a very good hitting catcher?
Yeah.
You've got Cole Wilcox. My goodness, the high
Yeah.
ceiling on that guy. And then you have Blake Hunt, who we had on the show, and he spoke like a future general manager. Like, he was so articulate. He was awesome. But 3 of those guys are no longer in the 40 man. They're not even in the organization right now. So, it definitely does not look pretty for the race for race fans if you look at that trade right now. Yeah.
And I think mentioning that 3 of the 4 Padres fans that are yelling at me whenever I consider trading Robbie Snelling, currently their best pitching prospect, keep that in mind. Just keep it in mind. I'm not saying you blow up the farm all the time. You need to have assets. You need to have ammo, wiggle room to move around. That's how the Rays are able to do a lot of their stuff as well. But it just goes to show you that we don't know. You know what I mean? You could get all Ultron and AI, coded as you want, but you're just not going to be able to predict this stuff. No one has to hit the ball.
You can prospect hug. I know we all have our favorite prospects, and you can hug
fun.
one. Maybe you can hug 2, but don't hug the whole farm. You're not that. Nobody has arms that big.
It's like TV characters that you've been watching since season 1 and you're on season 9, or comic book characters you knew from the 80s and are still hanging around or whatever. Like, you just get really attached that you don't always want the change. But we're talking change, man. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Juan Soto and Tyler Glasnow. You came up with a basic mock trade. I'm flashing it on the YouTube screen right now from everyone's favorite MLB trade machine application that is just easy engagement on Twitter as far as I'm concerned. But the trade, we thought it'd be very simple, especially given that both of these players may be gone going into free agency or what have you the following year, especially in the case of Juan Soto. Padres give up Juan Soto. In exchange, they would get Tyler Glasnow and Colin Pache. Ulises, first of all, here's the thing. I think that it's possible that the Padres would throw in a little bit more. I think they would throw in someone like Zavala, an outfield prospect potentially, or like I think that or infield prospects is what I'd be looking at for the Padres, because their infield, especially on the left side, is so locked down for a while that I think that that's an area where they'd be like, whatever. By the time Bogarts or Machado are on the way out or whatever, maybe they're declining, whatever it is, we'll have found a new person. That's one thing AJ Preller has been good at, is just procuring enticing prospects out of thin air. So it's possible they throw in another thing. Maybe there's 1 or 2 like back end Rays prospects, not a top guy or anything like that, to complete the trade. But this is the gist of it. And my thinking is, I think the Padres do need to buff their bullpen, because their bullpen, I think, was an area with the team. While the team was mostly bad because of being historically unclutch, I don't think it was the bullpen. I think the bullpen just isn't very good. And if you consider that they're probably losing Josh Hader, I think they need a little bit of reinforcements there. Don't get me wrong. There's other trades out there. They can go bring up someone from the farm. They could go sign, as I talked to you before we talked about, Luis Severino. Maybe you convert him to a bullpen guy. I don't know. They can do stuff. It's always easier to fix the bullpen. But just as another piece, considering that Juan Soto probably won't be in the Rays price range. Once he hits free agency, he's not in our price range either, by the way. I'm not even trying to take shots.
No. Because I'm literally looking at Spot Track. Juan Soto's estimate is $27 million. These are usually pretty close. Tyler Glasnow's $25 million. Yeah. So in this mock trade, although obviously I think that's a very, very bare bones what we just showed on the YouTube, Juan Soto for Poche and Glasnow, at least the money is right.
Yes.
The money is right. Now, obviously, I think as a Rays fan, I think I would do this trade. I like from here till next Sunday, which lets me know I feel like the Rays would need to unload another name. And you're talking infield more than outfield, right?
Outfield more than infield.
I mean,
a backup center fielder for Grisham type of thing. You know what I mean?
Manuel Margot.
Oh, he's coming home. I mean, look, you bring in Killian Murphy, Pache. and then you bring Coming Home. I mean, that's the next Christopher Nolan movie right there. I mean, come on. Like, what are we doing here?
I will say, Manny Margot is definitely on the Rays priority list of trading no matter what this season. Why? Because he will be making $10 million. And when you look at the payroll, Manny Margot, with the production that he's currently giving you and defensive kind of not liability, but decrease in how he used to handle the outfield, he cannot be in the top 3 of most earners in the payroll for the Rays. Like that's bad allocation of resources. So the Rays fans know that they've seen in all of Manny Margot's time with a Rays uniform. So but I don't know how much money the Padres are looking to add for a 4th outfielder. Is it $10 million? I mean, look from the outside looking in, it might seem like that would be a lot for them.
That's what's so tricky about the Padres right now is the reported spending reduction. That's what it sounds like. They're going to shed some payroll to a very, very small sum of $200 million. So they still have plenty of room. It's just that it comes at a time when you're losing Hader, you're losing Snell, and you have Soto. That's why it's viewed in a lens of, oh my God, they're cratering. And then they took out a loan. Now, I think that story is a little bit overblown. Yeah, look, guys, I mean, not to get too political out here, but it's like, guys, rich people don't go broke the same way. Like, relax. In my experience, being 27 years old on this planet, money finds rich people. It's very easy for them to find more money. That's just in my experience, especially for a business that's not going anywhere. It's not like baseball's being replaced by, like, this is real steel and it's being replaced by robot boxing. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going anywhere.
No, and thank you for saying that, because like I see, I've been a proponent. By the way, we should have opened with the, hey guys, this is just a hyperbolic thing, and then
we probably should have done that.
I should have done that earlier before people went nuts in the comments. But forget, I'll just say it then. I've been a very strong, proponent of do not trade Glasnow. You cannot trade Glasnow if you want to compete in 2024. I don't care about the $25 million, because when you look at the Rays rotation, bro, Eflin, career year.
Yeah.
Civale, unknown projection. Zach Littell, he was a bullpen arm for most of his career. Then you turn him into a starter and he's awesome, but that's a question mark. Tash Bradley, sophomore slump, sophomore growing pains. I mean, he had a 5 ERA plus in his rookie year. And then 5th in the spot would be a guy that's coming off from TJ, Shane Boz, Pirates legend in the Glasnow Archer trade. So you're asking him how many innings? And Springs and Rasmussen are not going to be joining the rotation till July, August. So you take Glasnow out of there. It's crazy how thin the rotation now becomes. Now, I know a lot of people would probably say, well, Ulises, if they're trading Glasnow, they're probably going to get some help for the rotation. Duh. And that's all fine and dandy. But when I look at guys like Lance Lynn earning $12 million, $10 million, and Kyle Gibson earning around the same thing. So you're telling me Gibson and Lynn basically equal $24 million, which is basically what you're going to be end up paying Glasnow. I'll take one Tyler Glasnow way over guys like Lynn and Gibson. I mean, Rich Hill made $8 million last year. That's where the market is. So
God, I wish I was good at sports. I wish I was good at sports, man. Oh,
crazy.
Man.
It's
crazy.
So the market is elevated so much that honestly, Tyler Glasnow at $25 million is a good deal.
Yeah. I think, and I talked about this on my episode yesterday, talking about the top free agents, which is, I think that given it's a light free agent class, it's very top heavy. Everyone always needs pitching. So I think that we're going to get a bunch of deals, Sonny Gray, whoever it ends up being, Blake Snell even, that are going to be like looked at as overpays, because it's not like there's money elsewhere to go and you always need starting pitching. So I think teams are really going to buckle in there, not to mention some trade candidates like Corbin Burns and Devin Williams and Shane Bieber, among many others. So, and I also think you bring up a good point with the injuries. That's what I think stops this deal. If Rasmussen Springs, if two of those three and Shane McClanahan were healthy, I think the Rays are like, heck yeah. Like, let's rock and roll. But now you get rid of that, like you said, that just feels, look, I believe in the Rays. We talked about this before. You could take my high school chemistry teacher, and that guy's going to be throwing 99 in 2 months. You know what I mean? Like, whoever it is. But are you pushing that development team? Are you gambling a little bit too much on that development team? I have no doubt that Juan Soto would be great for them. He would probably be awesome to have him on that team. A guy who's going to be a real anchor for that offense, especially with the losses, especially with a little bit of decline of Brandon Lau. We attested to the, Wander Franco situation. But you still got Randy, all that stuff. But I just think that the Rays will, even for the Rays, you like to have at least that one guy. And then they're like, have the one guy, and then we'll cook. We'll cook for the rest of the people. We'll figure it out. What's his face? Jason Adam will come back, right? Like Ryan Thompson, Jalen Beeks, Javi Guerra, former Padre. They can turn those guys into, 1-win players, whatever it is. It's what the Rays do. But I do agree with you that you kind of want to have Cillian Murphy. You kind of want to have Oppenheimer in there as the lead of your movie. Is it the same without him? I don't think so. But it is still the Rays. And like you mentioned with the salary, is it possible that they say, got to dump him right now, even if Juan Soto is going to be making $27 million possibly next year, which is the other part.
And I've tried to stress this on Locked On Rays, like in the post-mortem conference between Peter Bendix, who is now president of baseball operations for Miami, Eric Neander, and Kevin Cash. When they asked him point blank, what are your payroll stipulations for the next year? Eric Neander, without hesitation, said, if we roll out the same names again, we would be comfortable in doing so. That's full well knowing that it would be $120 million. Now, $120 million might not sound a lot to a lot of other markets, but when you're in Tampa Bay and you know that the highest it's ever been is like 78.5, 79, 120 sounds like, baby, we rich. You can't get those heels. Daddy's got them. Daddy's got them. So 120 sounds like a dream to us. So I am going to believe in Eric Neander, and hopefully that means that there will be no salary dumping except for Manny Margot's $10 million.
Yeah, I think that one makes a lot of sense. And again, teams that need a fourth outfielder, they'll say screw it. The Dodgers will pick him up or something like that, right? Like someone will come out and say, we believe in him a little bit. They just re-upped Jason Hayward actually, so like they can turn. Teams are not just going, oh yeah, FanGraphs said this player is better. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things that go into this, so many teams that are higher or lower. There's probably teams out there that hate Jackson Merrill and are like, that guy stinks. Now, I would disagree. I think everything proves the otherwise, but you don't know. Ethan Salas, the 17-year-old catcher. I don't know. Whatever the top prospects are for the Rays at the moment. Like you don't know exactly. And while this is fun, I think that I remember when we did the Blake Snell trade talk, and that was years ago. That one was more like, well, they have some reinforcements. At the time, I believe they had Glasnow like on the come up, so it was like, here, of course he gets hurt, but you can't predict for that. I think you're right though. I think that I don't see this team going out, the Rays, I mean, and spending on that big free agent starting pitcher. I did throw out Luis Severino, Frankie Montas, maybe. Like I could see some flyers. I'd be mortified, by the way, if I'm on an AL East team and I see them get one of those two guys. I'd be like, oh, that's it. Montas is back. I don't know. Just chalk it up. He's going to be a good player, like it. But I agree with you. If not for the injuries, I think this trade is a banger. I think that this trade works. But with the injuries, with the unsureness, Shane Baz could be great. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a damn all-star caliber in the first half. But he's coming off the TJ. You know what I mean? And guys coming off Tommy John surgery.
No, I don't, man. And the point about who else is next in line, it's like if you trade Glasnow, it's Mason Montgomery, who has never pitched let me just put it this way. Mason Montgomery has pitched as many pitches in MLB as I have.
Wow.
All right. That's a grand total of 0, folks, for those keeping track. Okay. Plot twist. And Jacob Lopez, who has a grand total of 10 innings. So you need reinforcements. And I do like the Montas. I do like the Severino. Like, I like the flyer sense, because if there's something I believe in besides death and taxes, I believe in the Rays front office targeting undervalued pitchers and then having career years. I 100% will agree that. But I feel like you can do that and also keep Glasnow.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they can maybe shuffle a prospect here and there, offload Margot as an expiring or something like that. There's probably some random hitters out there that'll interest people. But for this team right now, you're right. I don't see it. So my opinion is I think that the Padres say yes. I think the Rays say no. I think they say no. We got to keep Glasnow. If we had our guys, if we had more members of the Avengers still left, if we didn't lose Downey and Evans, then we would be down to part ways with Hulk, right? Like that's what they would be doing.
Honestly, right now it's basically Hawkeye. Like,
that's it.
Hawkeye's like, dude, really? No one else showed up to New York? It's just me.
Heck, it might be Logan. My God, it's gotten really bad for you guys. Like, it might be Logan is a better one for you. Just post-apocalyptic. Exactly. He's the only one left. You've got Shane Baz as Xavier, like just losing his powers and everything, right? Yeah. Like really rough. But yeah, man, I think that overall, I wouldn't sleep on the Rays, but I think that this trade, while it is a lot of fun, I don't think that it makes sense for the Rays, even if it would be really fun if the Padres were to. This is the type of trade that Padres fans, they would just change their mind on Preller immediately. They'd be like, Preller's back. He is so funny. You know how Aaron Nola is good and bad every year? Like it goes up and that's AJ Preller's approval rating. This man goes up and down more than anyone because it's just all these weird trades, the micromanaging, et cetera, et cetera. So again, while it would be fun for Padres fans, I don't see it. But hey, who knows? There could be another deal on the horizon. These teams have clearly shown that they have a penchant for trading with each other. Somehow hasn't killed the Padres. They've made a lot of bad deals, but somehow the Rays, which is baseball, that's baseball right there. I'm literally wearing a baseball shirt. So like,
that's why it's the best sport. Anybody can win at any point. It's you can never know what's actually going to happen. And you know what? This might not be the last time that we talk during the offseason, because like you said, a trade might pop up between these two teams, and then the folks will be pleased to see us hopefully get back together.
Yeah, absolutely. And until we get back together, potentially, Ulises, go ahead and plug whatever you want, tease whatever you want for the good people out there.
All right. Well, you guys can follow me on X at Sambrano Ulises. If you are on YouTube, it's right below in that yellow box. You can follow the show at Locked On Rays on YouTube. Please subscribe. We're like stuck on like 1395 subscribers. So like it'd be really nice to just see that 1.4K. So help us out there. That would be nice.
I feel you. Absolutely. Likewise, if people want to check out my ridiculous show, say hi to my bobblehead and Pac-Man, you can do that. I'm at Javipeno personally, JAVIIPENO. I don't tweet as much about the Padres during the off season on that account. So at LO_Padres is where you could go for that. And then Locked On Padres on YouTube. I think we're at like 1290 ? I think something like that. So go check that out if you want. Going to be doing more live shows, I think, especially if transactions come in. And every single time I've said that the Padres are going to go quietly into the night, they sign Xander Bogaerts. So we'll see. Maybe they're playing possum. Maybe they lied, right? Like they just straight lied. Maybe. So that would be hilarious. Lying is great, isn't it? But until next time, stay safe, my very faithful homies. Stay righteous, my Ray rock stars.
There you go. You got it.
Stay rocking, everybody. Until next time, take care.